Hi everybody, I'm going to be talking about the rules to play Operation CanCon. It's a 1980s shopping simulator and it's travel back in time to Yonge Street in the 1980s to shop for records to save Canadian culture. I'm going to walk you through the rules right now. So the rules are really simple and I'm going to read them aloud to you from the game book. Working with an existing checklist of 56 songs, you will choose a subset of specific target items, presumably 8 for your first game. So we're going to pick 8 songs. This initial figure reflects the fact that there are 8 stores and an 8-hour timeline. In a full game, you may choose to visit each store 1 in-game hour apiece, or spend up to 3 hours at fewer stores. So you'll probably visit 3 to 8 stores, but you will have at most 8 hours either way. For the purposes of a minigame, however, we're going to spend 1 hour at one store. For the first time you visit the store, their display stock will contain a number of items equal to the sum of 3d6. So 3d6 dice. So 3 to 18. You will check that number of items to see if they match any of your 8 targeted songs. A little like playing the lottery. Then you're done and the game is over with a score of 8. The only loss would be a 0. To check the current stock, you're going to roll 3d6 dice. But this time, instead of adding the values, you will arrange the dice results in ascending numerical order to form a 3-digit code, such as 111, 223, 456. Find this code in the code column of your checklist, which is at the back of the book. Note its presence in the appropriate store and confirm whether it matches any of your targets. Continue generating and checking codes in this manner until you have exhausted the current stock. With luck, you will have acquired at least some, and hopefully all, of your targets during this hour. However, in the full game, you have up to 8 hours, so if you still have any targets remaining, you may do so with another sweep of the store, which consumes an additional hour of time, or you may move to another adjacent store. When you do additional sweeps of the game store, any new or available stock will be gradually reduced. Remember, the first time you do a sweep, there are 3d6, 3 to 18 items available. The second time, that would be 2d6, 2 to 12. More items available, presumably dug up from the back room. The third time, there will be just 1d6. More items available, presumably picking through the return stock. After those 3 hours, you would have seen everything that store would have to offer. At any point in those first 3 hours, you can decide to stay or go. On the one hand, you might move to another store to see up to 18 more items, although any of them might be useless, randomly overlapping with what you've already bought, acquired. And the other hand, you might stay at the current store because while you have seen fewer, up to 12 or 6 items, they'll be new to you because duplicate results allow you to re-roll. That's really cool. After 8 hours, the game ends and the number of targets acquired becomes your score. For details on a longer campaign and how your score may be converted into a future bonus, you can read the interlude section. But before you do so, be sure you have played at least one game and fully understand the basic rules. So we're going to focus on the mini game, the quick game. So these basic steps. First, we're going to prepare a checklist of songs, either supplied as a default or your own custom checklist. You can make your own using the blank template, which is in the back of this game book. Select a subset of specific targets, usually 8 in number, by indicating them on the code column of the checklist. Choose any store immediately adjacent to your current position on the store grid. And if this is your first and only game, simply begin the top right corner of the grid and mark 1, Records on Wheels. If you've already done 3 sweeps in prior games of a campaign, you would need to choose the next available location, moving clockwise around the store grid through Music World, Sunrise Records, etc. Calculate your location's current stock rolls. If you've already done 2 or fewer sweeps at your location, then your current stock rolls would be 3d6 minus 1d6 for any prior sweep. So each time you come, the stock depletes. For your first visit, no prior sweeps, you would have those 3 dice to roll. And your second visit, 1 prior sweep, you would have 2 dice to roll. And then in the last time you visit that store, you're only going to have 1 dice to roll, which makes sense thematically. Roll the appropriate number of stock roll dice and add the results. That sum, whether 3 to 8 or 2 to 12 or 1 to 6, respectively, represents the number of albums you can check against your list this hour. Make note of having done this sweep at this location. The simplest way of doing it will be to record the stock roll sum in the appropriate space at your current location on the store grid. In a longer game, you might decide to stay at the current store or move to another adjacent one. Now you know the amount of stock you can check this hour, and you can judge whether it seems like enough for you to stay, whether you prefer your odds somewhere else. You can always move to another record store. If you were to go elsewhere, you would return to Sweep C, otherwise return to Step 1. Make note of the fact that you have decided to stay at the store for an hour. Doing so is less important in this walkthrough than a full game, when time would be limited to 8 hours, after which time the game is over. Begin or continue sweeping, searching for target items at the store's stock by rolling that 3 dice. Using 3 results to form a code in ascending numerical order, and then check that code on the checklist to discover which specific song it represents. If you find that song that has already appeared in a prior check, so you find a duplicate, then ignore this code and return to Step J to re-roll. So if you get a duplicate, you get to re-roll. That's great. And continue to Step L. You won't need to worry about this step on your first check, so return to that Step L, which is marking a tick box of the song which corresponds to the current store's column to show it's currently in stock there. Confirm whether that same item matches any one of your target songs. If so, continue to Step N. Otherwise, skip ahead to Step P. So Step N is mark the target item on the checklist by highlighting it, crossing it out, or otherwise indicating you have acquired it, you bought it. And please note that in some more advanced variations of the game, this step may be expanded, such that you do not automatically acquire whatever you find. There may be limitations, such as the triple constraint mode, which includes models of cost, time, and quality factors. So maybe the album you're acquiring isn't in great shape, which is very thematic. There are encumbrance modes, which may limit the mode of your personal carriage limits, just like being over-encumbered in Fallout, or you don't have inventory space. These modes are optional and would only apply at a later point, but not while this learning game happens. Confirm whether you've acquired all of your target items. To do so in a single hour is not likely, but it is possible. And so you can skip ahead to the end of these steps. Otherwise, you can continue to Step P, which is make a note of the fact that you have made 1 check in the current sweep, so you've expended your tries in that store. And for example, if that stock roll gave you a sum of 3, it would reduce down to 2 the number of possible checks remaining. So again, thematic, because you keep returning to a store, you lose your chances. And then there's Step Q, which is confirm whether you have reduced the number of checks to 0. So if you've depleted all 3 tries in a store, you can't go back. And you maybe still have undiscovered items. You can continue to check them by returning to Step J, which is again that sweeping the checklist. And again, if you've exhausted the store, you can move on to other stores. You can reduce the number of stock rolls by 1d6. So if you just rolled a 3d6 to establish the most recent accessible stock, then subsequent stock rolls would use that 2d6. Confirm whether your stock rolls have been reduced by 0d6. So have you exhausted all of your opportunities in the store? And again, you can always move to another store. You can decide whether you want to stay in that store or you can move to another one. And once you've reached that end of the checklist, again, this is just very, very wonderfully laid out in this game book, you can just move to those other stores. And there's some great story as we go. So that's how you play the game. And I just want to record this quick video just to walk you through some of those preliminary rules. It's a really, really fun game. It's a celebration of Canadian culture, and I do hope you check it out.